So welcome everyone. And this week we're going to be talking about strategies for interviewing. Last week we spoke about mindset. And on the agenda today, we're going to talk about questions that you need to prepare for when interviewing, and how to practice and what you should do to follow up. And then we'll also go to worst case scenario. So the three questions that you must prepare for: why this particular role? Why are you qualified for this role? And why this organization? So why this particular role is from the interest perspective. Why are you interested in this role of all the other roles that you can choose to pursue? And it's basically to show from a deeper level why you have skin in the game. It's not I'm choosing to become an accountant because I love numbers, but it's going deeper than that. Why does being an accountant mean something to you? Right? So again, it calls on those more personal stories. Why are you qualified here is where you're, drawing attention to the skills, the experience. What is it that you're bringing to the table to be able to contribute? And why this organization is basically where are our values aligned? And how do I fit into your vision and mission? So showing that compatibility. So every question in an interview falls under one or more of these overarching questions, right? So if they ask you, what's your greatest strength? They're basically asking you, why are you qualified? Or even if they ask you, what's your greatest weakness? They're asking you, why are you qualified, right? And a lot of times they'll ask you, why this company, right? And they may even ask you specifically, why this role? When you're looking at any question on an interview, it's one of these three questions, or sometimes a combination of these questions that they're asking you. So basically, when you're preparing, you want to prepare at this level and having specific stories and specific examples that you can share to show that you're a strong candidate. So how to answer questions? So the first thing that you need to understand is the context, right? So you have to understand yourself in relation to the position. So you have to show them that you understand the need and how you can come in and help them to address that need using your skills and your experiences, right? So you are the product, and how are you as the product going to help them solve their problems? And that's what you need to understand, because all of their questions are leading up to, are you qualified to be able to come in and help us solve this problem, right? And this is where you have to have very specific stories and examples where you're drawing on metrics and showing things that are related to their need, so that you can start to differentiate yourself and show that you are able to do the job. It's also where you want to state facts and where you're bringing in, again, like the specifics, like I prepared 500 tax returns versus I'm a great accountant. We talked in the previous session on mindset, the difference between confidence and arrogance. And confidence is where you're bringing in those specific numbers and you're doing it in service of them, whereas arrogance is you're just looking to build yourself up and you're just trying to make an impression on that person and not necessarily showing them the value that you can add to them. And you also want to focus on what you have to offer versus what you have to gain. So again, what I have to offer you to help you meet these needs versus I'm here to learn and grow, or this is a big company and it would be great to work for it. So when you're working on your answers, you have to remember this. You have to remember that it's always in the context of the role. This is not where you just come and talk about random things, right? So how to practice? I don't recommend that you practice based on a set list of questions, right? Because again, there's so many different questions that they can potentially ask you, and what they ask is not in your control. You actually want to be prepared to answer any question they ask. And how do you prepare? You have to understand the job requirements. So if it's coming from a posting online, take that posting and use a highlighter, go through the job posting and say, what does the ideal candidate for this position look like? what are the qualities this person has, what are the skills this person has, understand the company. So this means doing research. Research is critical. Understanding the industry that this company is in, and you also want to demonstrate why you're a great candidate using stories. So also what you want to do is that you want to keep an inventory of your stories. And this is where you can have a notebook and you're just writing all of the stories, all of the evidence of why you're a great candidate. And this can be for different roles, but you have an inventory. So, when you are actually ready to interview, you can go back to that inventory and say, for this role, what is it that I want to talk about? And you don't only have to use professional stories, but you can also use personal stories, because you're not just a professional, you're a human being. You can pull on personal stories if they're relevant, right? You also don't want to memorize answers to any question. When you memorize answers, you're basically in your head and you're going to sound robotic. You're going to be disconnected from the person, because if you're just in your head, you're not going to be able to connect with that person authentically. And all you're concerned about is, am I going to mess up? Am I going to say the things that I practice? And you'll just be focused on your agenda of getting a job versus focusing on meeting their needs. And what they really care about is, can you meet my needs? So if you're not focused on that, it's going to cause this interview to feel very disconnected from the other side. You also want to write down your stories and chunk them into 2 or 3 points. So basically, if you have a story, where you're showing where you've worked on as part of a team, and you were able to lead a team, just chunk that story into 2 or 3 points. And when you say it, like, you don't want to say it the same way each time. Just say it like, as you're talking to a friend, how would you express those 2 or 3 points? Because if you're saying it the same way each time, when you're actually in the interview, it's not going to sound fresh and it's not going to come across as natural, as opposed to if you're just saying it not based on something that's rehearsed, but based on 2 or 3 bullets, it's going to come across like very natural. And you want to be able to also prepare so well that you can relax, right? Prepare so well where you do your research, where you know why you're a great product for what they're asking. You feel that I'm basically going there to show them this is the value that I'm bringing to the table, and I'm really excited. I want to be able to help you. And I know that whatever they ask me, I can be present, I can talk to them, I can have an engaging conversation. That's what I mean by being well prepared, where you have that level of confidence in yourself that you don't have to hold on to scripts to feel confident, that you're not putting your confidence in a rehearsed answer. Your confidence is in you and you knowing that you're valuable. So yes, the mindset is definitely very important. So the question that I recommend that you prepare for, one question I recommend you prepare for is, tell me about yourself. So tell me about yourself. Again, context, context, context. So really you have to understand your audience. And when you're thinking about this question, tell me about yourself, you want to think of it as the highlight reel of a movie. Imagine that you want to go see a movie. Typically, what most people would do is that they would go and they would watch the trailer for the movie and they would say, oh, this trailer looks really great. I want to see the rest of the movie. So I want to go and pay $14 to go watch this movie. If the highlight reel of the movie is not so great, you're probably not wanting to go see the movie. You want to think of this, tell me about yourself, because it's typically the opening question, as the highlight reel. It's where you want to give them the highlights of the movie, which is you, to say, hey, this is what I can actually bring to the table. And they'll be like, I want to see more. You want to differentiate yourself using your unique value proposition. So focusing on the impact and contribution. And this is where the transitions are important. And transitions are basically the whys, right? Why did you make the choices that you did? Why did you choose to study accounting? Because your resume doesn't give that full story, right? Your resume doesn't tell you why, it tells you what you've done. And here you want to think of win, win, win. The company wins, by having you as an employee. You win because you get to do something where you feel fulfilled, and society wins because you're making a difference. And you want to think from the position of this question, tell me about yourself. How is it a win-win-win? This is actually something a student has said to me. Tell me about yourself. My name is Jane. I'm an MSA student at Baruch. In my spare time, I love going to the beach and I also enjoy karaoke. And imagine this is for an audit internship position. What do you think of this answer? Carolina, they're not serious. Why aren't they serious? Margarita said not good. Tammy says generic. Sophia said, I fear she's not prepared for an interview. Yeah. Jonathan says very bland. Amy says nothing to do with audit. Margarita says not relevant information. Aliona says not relevant. Tiana says doesn't state her qualifications. Vivi said they're not connecting themselves with the position. Catherine says it's not professional. So you guys got it, right? First of all, when somebody says, tell me about yourself, please don't say my name is, whatever your name is. Because what would have happened in an interview? Think of it. You show up for an interview, the person knows your name, they know they're expecting Tanuja to come in, right? They would have come out to the, to the reception area, they would have greeted you, you're like, hi, I'm Tanuja, hi, I'm John, nice to meet you. So when I go back and somebody says, tell me about yourself, you don't have to come back and say, hi, my name is Tanuja. The other thing is like, if you're saying MSA and somebody doesn't know what MSA means, then it's not going to land well. You don't use acronyms like, for example, I see students say things like ZGAS. Well, not everybody knows that it's a Ziklet Graduate Accounting Society, right? So don't use acronyms that people are not familiar with, or if it's not like an industry thing. In my spare time, I love going to the beach. You can actually use personal experiences here, but they have to be tied back to the position. Tianis, what I would say in terms of this question, walk me through your resume. Again, you want to start by explaining the whys, right? So like you can say, for example, I started off my career in audit. And in my second year, I got to work with the analytics team and I saw how important data was in terms of helping clients to make better financial decisions. And this is what really got me interested. And that's when I transferred from this position to this other position. And it's also when I decided to come back and get my master's at Baruch. So you're still walking them through those positions, but you're still explaining to them what is the why, as opposed to saying in 2008, I worked here, and then in 2009, I worked here, and then 2012, I went here, and then I came to Baruch and I got my degree, saying what they can already read on paper. So in terms of walking them through the resume, you can actually just use a chronological approach, but also explaining the whys. Why did I change to this position, and why did I change to that position, and how did that lead me to where I am now? So in terms of behavioral questions, you want to demonstrate your competence through past experiences, right? This idea here is not to come across as perfect. It's to show you're someone who can learn and grow from your success and failures. So this is where you want to use the STAR approach. And STAR is basically situation, task, action, result. And it allows you to approach the answer so somebody can follow your logic. So it's like something like this. My boss needed to go on emergency leave, and there was a critical regulatory project she was leading. So that was the situation. The task is we have to get this done in 3 months to keep our license and stay in business. And basically now the project is in jeopardy. So the action is I took the opportunity to step up and coordinate with the 5 other team members to develop a solid plan to ensure all the requirements were met and the systems were tested. The result, it was a challenging period for all of us, and we had to learn new skills quickly and work longer hours. However, because of our commitment, the project was completed 2 weeks ahead of schedule and we met the requirements. Right? So basically you're seeing that by following this approach, it becomes very logical. My boss needed to go on emergency leave and there was a critical regulatory project she was leading. We had to get this done within 3 months to keep our license and stay in business, and it was in jeopardy. I took the opportunity to step up and coordinate with the 5 other team members to develop a solid plan to ensure all requirements were met and the systems were tested. It was a challenging period for all of us, and we had to learn new skills quickly and work longer hours. However, because of our commitment, the project was completed 2 weeks ahead of schedule and we met the requirements. So what do you think of a flow like that in terms of behavioral questions? Like if somebody says, what is a time that you needed to step up and do something outside of your job responsibilities? So Marguerite is saying amazing answer, super relevant. Jonathan says, I think it's effective. Time, good flow. So flow, yeah. Caroline is very good in concrete details. Aliona says show leadership skills. Sophia saying it's persuasive. Yeah, so I mean, there are different situations that they can ask about. They can ask about conflicts, they can ask about leadership, they can ask about teamwork, they can ask about so many different things. So what question should you ask an interviewer? So what is the work environment like? So Amanda, I would also recommend that you do as much research as you can. I would not recommend you ask about pay. So Stephanie, if you ask people about the culture of any company, you're going to get very different answers because that's a very broad question. What do you like best about the culture of the company? So you're hearing it from a more personal experience as opposed to asking somebody to generalize on the culture of the company. Where do you see the company in 5 years? Tammy is saying, how did this position become vacant? Margarita, what characteristics do the most successful employees in the company possess? Yeah, so you don't just ask questions for the sake of asking questions, because people are also going to see through that if you're just asking questions to come across as though I have questions. But you also want to ask questions that you genuinely want to know the answers to. And also, before you even go to the interview, you might also want to look up your interviewer if you know who that is. And when you're looking up the interviewer, you can see, how long has this person been in this role? And say, for example, that person changed into this role 2 years ago from another company. You can say, what is it that attracted you to ABC company that made you want to switch either careers or switch companies? You can ask those questions as well, getting more of that personal feedback. Margaret, oh yeah, if he's working for 15 years in a company, asking what kept him there. Yeah, definitely, Margaret. I think that's a great question. For example, if you're an entry level, say you're just graduating and you're interviewing with somebody, and you can say, given your extensive career and all the experience that you have, if you had to go back to yourself as a graduate student, what advice would you give to you then? And it also will help you to get some advice from that person in terms of what they've learned from their career. There are many different things that you can ask, but ask genuine questions, right? Don't ask questions just because you have to have questions to ask. This means also doing your research, and this means, asking yourself, what is it that I really want to know? What is it that I need to know to make a better decision regarding this job? So soft skills matter, right? So here's where you want to, when you're actually coming into an interview, having that firm handshake. Definitely, if it's an in-person interview, the firm handshake, the eye contact matters. Smile, warm smile. Your body language matters. Like, is it exuding confidence, right? Listening is going to matter. Being present, acknowledging your fear. I mean, if you're anxious or you're afraid, just acknowledge that you're anxious or afraid. It's okay. It's the fear and the nerves. It's normal. Be yourself, right? Be that version of yourself who knows you're valuable, because you've taken the time to really understand what you can bring to the table, and you've also understood the position and see how you can really come in and make a difference. And also, you want to be honest with yourself if the position is not right for you. Like, if you're trying to force yourself into a position that is not right for you, and you have to put on a performance to make them believe that you're right, you want to have that level of honesty. Is this the right job for me? Also, be conversational. Like, let the interview be conversational as opposed to being an interrogation where they're just firing questions at you and you feel that you're under pressure to answer questions. You don't have to wait till the end to ask the interviewer questions. You can ask the interviewer questions as the conversation is going. Remember to breathe, right? A lot of people just hold their breath in an interview, and it's, and that's like builds up the fear. Silence is okay. If you have to take a moment to compose yourself to answer a question, it's okay. And also make sure that you thank the interviewer, right? Make sure that at the beginning as well, you can actually say, thank you so much for making the time to interview me today. And at the end, say, thank you very much. I really appreciate you, spending this time with me. And you can also ask them, when can I expect to hear back from you? Also get their card so that you can follow up and send them an email. So I had a student once, and she, when I was doing a mock interview with her, she didn't come across as confident, and it was just like shutting down being very closed off in the interview process. So I asked her to think of an area that she was already confident, and she starts to tell me about when she played rugby, and she like lit up, and she was like so excited and telling me about how great that was when she was the captain of her team. And I said, bring that person to the interview, bring that confident person. So there's an area in your life that you're already confident. Maybe you're great in the kitchen and you're very confident in your cooking abilities, or maybe you're very confident playing an instrument or whatever it is. Find that area where you're already confident and go there mentally. And also you want to put yourself in the shoes of the person who already has this job. So say you're applying for an associate position at JP Morgan. Who is that associate? How does that person show up? How does that person, how would that person conduct his or herself? You also want to visualize the interview going really well. Most people visualize the interview going really bad, where they see themselves coming out of the interview and not knowing how to answer a question. Like, visualize yourself waking up that morning, and it's a beautiful day, and you have a healthy breakfast, and you get ready for the interview, and you listen to some great music, and you go off, and you get there 15 minutes early, and you're excited to talk to this person. You show up to the reception area, and you're greeted by the receptionist, and you're smiling, and you have this warm smile, and you have a conversation with the receptionist, and then your interviewer comes out and greet you, and you have this great conversation walking into the interview room, and the conversation goes well, and you're happy to share about how you can come in, and what experiences you can bring and the skills you can bring, and the interview goes really well, and you walk out of there and you felt happy with yourself, and you go grab a cup of coffee or whatever it is, and you take some notes, and you send a follow-up thank you note. So imagine it going really well. And listen to some upbeat music if you need to, and practice a movement exercise before the interview to shift your energy in a positive way. So movement does get you in that space of like really, revving up your confidence. And in terms of just following up, so here's like, what do you think of the sample thank you letter? Dear Sam, thank you for interviewing me today. I had a great time and learned a lot. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Best regards, Fran. It doesn't really stand out. It doesn't really show me that this person cares, right? As opposed to, Dear Sam, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to interview me for the brand management internship. Today, I really appreciate that you introduced me to the interns and explained how the new role fits into the team. After speaking with you, I feel confident that my research experience, creative background, and knowledge of marketing will allow me to successfully contribute as an intern. I'm excited at the possibility of being part of the growing brand management team at ABC Company. Thank you again, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Best regards, Fran. So what is the difference here? So it's not so much a detail. There's a difference between being specific and being detailed. Detail can also be like where you're introducing a lot of noise. Specific is where you're bringing in the things that are very relevant. So more personalized, more relevant. Yeah, more personal. So it also shows genuine appreciation and respect the interviewer. Yeah. So it's not just document somebody just took off of Google and just pasted into an email. So worst case scenario, right? And the worst case scenario is not that you don't get the job, right? The worst case scenario is that you don't show up confidently, that you don't value yourself enough, that you don't take the time to understand what is it that you're bringing to the table, that, you see, again, you as the product, that you're able to come in and meet their needs. So again, you are the expert on you. You know yourself better than anyone else. But the important thing is in the interview is that you get to choose what you share, right? And if you don't share, you're denying others the opportunity to see you and the value that you can offer. And this is why you have to show up fully, right? Because if you're not showing up fully, people will not know that you can help them. And if you're holding back and you're not sharing those specific stories where you've demonstrated skills that they're looking for, they will never know. And that's totally in your control, right? And the point here is just to be yourself, but be, the best version of yourself, but where you value yourself. If you can actually value yourself enough and value what you have to offer, not from a place of arrogance, right? But from a place of confidence, of wanting to use it to share with others and to be of service to others. In an interview, this is what you need to do. It's to understand, what is the need that they have, and based on everything I know about myself, what is it that I can tell them? What are these points that I have to pick out, these stories that I can pick out to share with them, to show them that I can come in and help them meet their needs. And I know Aliona asked about the question, tell me about your greatest weakness. So how do you think you'll answer that question? If somebody says, what's your greatest weakness? What would you say? So Aliona, this is always a tough question to answer because you do not want the answer to hurt you, but at the same time, you need to be able to answer it and use it to show how you are valuable. People say something along the lines of, I'm too much of a perfectionist. Yeah, so that's a bad answer, Aliona, in terms of what's your greatest weakness. So in terms of answering this question, I'd say start with the obvious. So say, for example, I am a non-native English speaker and my English is not where I want it to be. And somebody speaking to me obviously can see that. And somebody says, what's your greatest weakness? I would say something like this. As you can see, I am not a native speaker. I came to New York 6 months ago when I started my master's degree at Baruch College. And since then, I have improved my English considerably by going to meetups and by joining the Zicklin Graduate Accounting Society. My English is still not where I want it to be, and my goal is to be able to improve it using Toastmasters and also joining the Conversation Partners program at Baruch, so that by the time I graduate, I can speak English as fluently as Mandarin, right? So here I'm saying, again, it's the obvious thing. This person is showing me that they recognize this. They also are showing me that, they're working to improve it. Or for example, if you're applying for a job, say in public accounting, and you've never worked in public accounting before, and somebody says, what's your greatest weakness? You can again, stating the obvious, you can say, as you can see from my resume, my only experience in accounting is working for small CPA firms. Now that I'm actually looking to work in public accounting, I recognize that I don't have any experience in public accounting. However, given my dedication and given the skills that I have and my ability to deal with clients and solve issues, I know that I will be able to make a difference in an environment such as EY. So Aliona is saying that's very smart and simple. I actually never thought about it. Okay. So Miriam saying it's frustrating is that they don't offer feedback, but you can ask for it because some companies will provide it. So don't expect it from everyone, but you can ask for it because that's in your control. So Sophia is saying, I'm trying to switch my career and I'm worried that what if I get so many questions about expertise that I don't know, I don't want to look dumb. This is actually where people go into hiding. We talked about this in the mindset class, is that you're going to go into hiding because you don't want to look dumb. First of all, if they're asking you questions that you don't know the answer to and they need that skill level, again, coming back and being honest, maybe this is not the job for me right now. It's not about you being dumb. It's like if I go interview for an engineer position, it's not because I'm dumb. It's just because I have not learned about engineering. It just means that you don't have that expertise, and perhaps what you need is to develop that expertise before you go applying for jobs like that, right? So that's one thing in terms of being honest about yourself. I think the fact that you're not able to answer the questions is a great indicator that you have some more learning to do, not about you not being smart, right? And it's about your growth. So don't take it to mean that you're dumb, because if you're looking at it, I'm afraid to look dumb, you're going to go into the interview from the position of fear, and you are going to be afraid to show yourself. Yeah, so tell me, it's like in super days or where you have several rounds within a day. It's not about how many people are interviewing you, if it's one or multiple, but is the product you're selling and what you're bringing to the table valuable? And can you substantiate that value? That's all it takes, right? Because the only thing you have control over is yourself. It's making sure you're engaging with them, making sure you're present with them, making sure you're making eye contact with them, you're asking questions, you're listening, you're answering their questions. It's the same thing, but it's also making sure that you're really, valuing yourself. So Aliona, are there trick questions that are commonly used? I mean, I think they can ask you a lot of different questions, right? And sometimes there are interviews that are called sweat interviews to see how you deal with pressure. Be calm. especially when you have like client facing jobs, and if a client asks you a question and you don't know the answer to, and you are going to start sweating, a manager is not going to want to put you in front of a client. So it's how do you remain calm and present and answer from that place. So Margarita, lower with recent graduates with lower GPA, a GPA is only one factor, right? I mean, a GPA is not like the entire, the entire package. And there are companies like, for example, like Google, that say they don't want people with 3.9 or 4.0 GPA because it shows that those people don't know what it's like to fail. Focus on what is it that you're bringing to the table, not what is missing, right? Because most people tend to focus on, my GPA is not so good. Yeah, but you're bringing experience to the table, and you're bringing leadership to the table, and you're bringing other things to the table. What are those things that you're bringing? Because that's what you want to focus on, not on the things that you feel are missing, because that's when you're coming from this place of lack. In terms of owning your value, what is the value you're bringing? It may not be the high GPA, but what value are you bringing to the table that would make somebody see you as a great employee? All right, guys, thank you all so much. I'll talk to you all soon. Take care, guys. Have a great day.